Hello, everyone. Um, Before I start, Gargi and I want to survey the room a little bit. How much do you know? If I say the word 1,000 days and stunting, how much do how much of you know exactly what that means and why that's important? All right. So it's okay that if I repeat that a little bit. Okay. Um, so I will be talking today about researching women's empowerment and nutrition in Tanzania. And I'm going to I'm going to start with the spoiler that I actually used the money that AWARE, Advancing Women in Agriculture Research Education, to interview men, and why that actually is okay and why that matters. So the outline of my talk is I will go over the 1,000 day and women's empowerment and how the two is related very quickly. And then I will talk a little bit about my dissertation research focus, and then discuss the bigger parent study, and then just a little bit on my travel grant activity. And if we have time, I can show you the little bit of preliminary results, but we're short on time here. So 1,000 days and women's empowerment. What is the first 1,000 days? For nutritionists, this first 1,000 days is our bread and butter. It's the key of a lot of what we're trying to do. What first 1,000 days is first 1,000 day of life of someone, and that includes when they're still under their mother's womb for pregnancy, infancy, or in early childhood. And this is very important for us because during this time, they need more. Mother and children need more nutrition, need more care, need more attention. But they get less, whether that's because of, physically you cannot move as much as a mother, or socially because of like the gender structure that is put around you and what your parents will give to you. And for me, most importantly, it has lasting consequences for individual and population. Those who have good nutrition for the first 1,000 days, they're less likely to die. They finish more schooling. They earn more throughout their life. And then for the next generation, they're also more likely to have healthier families. So it's lasting consequences. And if you work in nutrition, you see this, you would have seen this framework ad nauseum. But I'm going to focus on the little box there. And that's what we think the immediate and underlying cause, the more immediate causes for maternal and child nutrition. And for someone to have good nutrition, they need to have adequate dietary intake. And they need to not have diseases, because that they take away from the nutrient that is in their body. And also very important is inadequate care and feeding practices. And then in the next two slides, I'm going to summarize how agriculture and nutrition is related and how gender inequality and nutrition related. If you're studying in this area, you will see this two summary as criminal, but here goes. So agriculture and nutrition, basically, we see agriculture as a great way to increase household resources that can be given to children. We produce more food. We produce food that are more healthy for children, like producing chicken, producing legumes, and variety. And then they're also increasing household income to be allocated to the children. Oh, I need to mention that I will be focusing on children in this. And then gender inequality and nutrition basically focuses on allocation. So allocation of food, allocation of money, allocation of time. The argument is that if women have more say in maybe household decision making, they would plant food that are more likely to be given to children. They are more likely to spend money to use to access healthcare or buy variety of food. They will have more time to care for their baby. And there also there's limited mobility, then limited access to all this stuff. But for all those arguments, there's this underlying assumption that childcare is women's domain. And some people are okay with that, and that's the world, and we have to move forward and just work with that. And there are others who are saying that, look, maybe that's not okay, let's work against that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my dissertation research focus. I have 3 aims, like normal people, but I'm for this presentation, I'm going to talk about 2 and 3. And so my aim is to evaluate this participatory farmer-led agriculture and nutrition education. And I'm going to tell you that's the parent study on its impact on women's empowerment and nutrition. And then my aim 3 is to evaluate its impact on child nutrition and also do mediation analysis of women's empowerment measures. And with women's empowerment measures, I mean within household gender inequality. I don't want to just measure women's experience. I want to measure both men and women. So with that, highlight. And with that, I want to measure male versus female reported decision-making power. I want to measure male versus female reported attitude towards domestic violence and their experience with domestic violence. I want to measure division of tasks, their experience with division of tasks and time use, dietary diversity, and also mental health, depression and stress measures. Now I'm talking about the parent study. Our work is in Singida, Tanzania. It's in the central region of Singida, and as you can see, it's in a semi-arid location. And in summer 2013, a graduate student, not me, previous student, and an undergraduate student from Cornell went there and do a pilot study. And this is what they find. They find that there's a lot of hierarchical or top-down agriculture education. So a lot of the advice that the farmers get didn't apply to them. They find that there's low soil fertility and very little knowledge of agroecological or sustainable farming practices solutions. Number 3, there's high levels of gender inequality and high workloads for women. And we're talking about mothers 8.5 months pregnant, carrying water, digging and doing very hard, intense work, or no one having to decide but when breastfeeding or going to work, right? So very, very high. And then there's very high food insecurity and low dietary diversity. And specifically suboptimal infant and young child feeding practices. Very low dietary diversity amongst children who are eating, and then very low exclusive breastfeeding. So all of that adds up to 42% stunting in the area. So if you, by definition, a normal population should have 2.5% stunting, and this population have 42%. So we decided to make a project. It's called Singida Nutrition and Agroecology Project. And in this project, mentor farmer are trained on agroecology, nutrition, and gender. And even though there's a lot of projects that touch on these issues, we pride ourselves on focusing on how these 3 are integrated. A lot of other projects say, 3 days of agriculture training, 2 days of nutrition training, and we don't do that. We say, okay, agriculture. This morning, we'll talk about soil. And then about planting, for example, or like choosing how to plant. And then that's where gender comes in, that's where nutrition comes in. So we try to do that. And then we also use drama. We show, like with dramas and songs, they see how these three things are connected. And then mentor farmer train their peers. And that comes in monthly household visits, quarterly village farmer meetings, and quarterly mentor farmer meetings. So that's the 2 farmers waving goodbye, going on a household visit. And the 3rd is legume seeds. We do provide them with legume seeds because we want to promote a good protein source that is also will be good for the soil. So that's why we choose legumes. And then the last, also I think one of the most important part of this is then we ask household to choose 1 or 2 that we talk about and say, I'm going to try this. And we call it household experimentation. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about aware travel grant activity. Because hindsight is 2020. Now when I'm looking back, I should have seen this challenge coming. So in November 2016, a mentor farmer told me, we have good class, but the thing is men attendance is not good. And in January, they say again, we're telling the truth regardless of our works. We tried, but because of our work, we men don't have time to attend these meetings. Male mentor farmers, male participant, I'm sorry. And the female mentor farmer actually mentioned that it's because they think this project, your project, is a mama and baby project. Why? Because you have nutrition on the title, and you want babies when you're choosing participant. That's why it's a mama and baby. Why do you want men? And then this get into this, right? And this is the thing that we want to address, but then this is also the thing that hinder us. What this means for survey, as of February 15th survey for our January survey, we have 46% of men that we're supposed to interview that we couldn't interview. We tried, we come, we go to their house, no. And the problem is that the survey team is leaving Singida February 16th. And thank God, Aware was like, do you need money? And I'm like, yes. Yes, we do. So overcoming the challenge, obviously we have to do things long term. So we were going to engage village leaders. We already are doing this. Just engage village leader on project objectives and how this is a family project. Then it's also then a bigger, longer conversation with everyone about discussion about gender role and nutrition, how nutrition, father is also important in nutrition. And then, of course, future surveys, we're going to change the way we do things. But for now, I need to hire these people. So this is my team in Singida, and they're great. Especially these two, with Aware Support Fund, they every day they go in the public transportation, meet this one Baba. Come on, Baba, please, we need to interview. And they were great. And after that, we increase a little bit, 36% more men that we get to interview. So this is what I told you. I talk a little bit about 1,000 Days in Women's Empowerment. We talk about my research focus a little bit, about the project, and about Aware Travel Grant Activity. And thank you so much, Aware.